Hey, we get another happy episode today after a long awaited, much needed win on Sunday.
Yes, sir. Finally, welcome to the Panthers Shadow, not group therapy session for once. Um, yeah, gotta win this weekend on Memorial Day weekend, and it was a good win too. Bit of a down and dirty win, but honestly, the way these North playoffs are looking, I'll take any win I can get.
Yeah, I mean, Panthers are back in number 2 in the North, which just seems ridiculous as they were, fourth in the North coming into week 7. So I'll take it. I am not going to complain. Like I said, it was a dirty, gritty game. Come out on top. That is honestly all that matters right now. Apparently, we can only win on the road. It is what it is. But hey, I'll take it. We still got another 2 games on the road, so hey, maybe we can at least get to 5-5. And with the way that things are looking in the North, that's a playoff spot. So I'll take it.
Yeah, especially considering teams that are in our way.
Yeah, and they still have to play each other next week, so we'll see how that all shakes out.
Yeah.
But before we
Anyway,
get into that, yeah, we have a little bit of news. Not a whole lot of news. Obviously, middle of the season, late of the season, there's not a whole lot of news to talk about. But playoff tickets for both the South and North championship games, and of course the USFL championship games, are now officially on sale. North Championship, which hopefully we can sneak our way into, will be on Saturday, June 24th. And then that means the South will be that Sunday on the 25th. So just 3 weeks away. That is coming up quick. And I'm still not sure if I'm going to try to make it for both. If the Panthers do, I think I'll probably have to plan the last minute trip. But right now, I'm just going to make sure I secure my championship tickets because as Brett just tweeted out that I caught my eye was that tickets are already moving. So I want to make sure that I get good seats. Not that there's a bad seat at Tom Benson, but still, I have been spoiled with my midfield season tickets, so I want to try to keep that going.
Yeah, and for both these 2 divisional championships, at least for the North, that one's also going to be here in Canton. Is going to be up in Canton, Ohio. So it'll be a nice little back-to-back if the Panthers can make it into both. South, if I'm not mistaken, is being hosted down in Birmingham, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, it's going to depend on seating, so it very well could also be in Memphis. So both of those stadiums are potentially going to host that game. But yeah, North is just Canton regardless. Maybe next year we'll get it in either, any of the North host cities, but Canton it is for this year. And I mean, be kind of funny if it isn't one of the Canton teams that plays in there either. Be that North. Which maybe with the way that things are going now, maybe my ominous tweet from week 2 isn't aging poorly. Maybe it just, took a little dip before it then started to age like fine wine. So hoping that plays out.
Yeah, it's like you take if you look at milk before it becomes cheese, it'll look quite disgusting. But again, like now it's starting to get those cultures in there. Now it's starting to turn to a delicious aged cheddar or something like that.
There we go. The Panthers are not a fine wine, but we are an aged cheese. Yes, there we go. I like that. That works. That works for me. That's what we're going with. And then we did have a press conference that the league hosted today, which I forgot to RSVP for, so I didn't get to see it. Or listen to in. So we just get the snippets that were tweeted out, but basically, kind of things are good. League is happy with where things are at. They obviously talked about the playoffs, but most importantly, that's relevant to us is that Michigan was one of the two of the non-Birmingham teams last year that really had like good fan engagement. It was Michigan and NOLA.
Mm-hmm.
So between the two cities, we were showing up, which, I think we've seen just how popular the
Oh yeah.
Panthers have certainly been. So seems like the league had definitely made it an effort to make sure that they got a Michigan hub, and obviously that came to fruition, and now they seem to be happy. I ran into Brett last week, and he said he was at the last home game, and he said that they were happy with it. So yeah, they plan to be back next year in 2024 and beyond. So good news all around. Nothing super special. So the press conference wasn't anything that I was really expecting to be groundbreaking, and it wasn't. But
Yeah.
good news nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, and it makes sense. In large part, this is gonna be like a really weird thing to notice, but every time, like, and especially this season more so, I noticed. If you ever looked at the Player of the Week votings, right? Anytime that a Panthers or even a Breakers player was nominated, they'd all pretty much always be top two, unless like there's some clear runaway favorite for at least one of the Player of the Week award. Um, Even during our 4-game skid, I think we picked up, what was it, 2 Defensive Player of the Weeks or something
Yep,
like that?
yep. Weeks 5 and 6, you had Speaks and then Ginda winning. So yeah, we haven't gone very long without having Player of the Week award. And like you mentioned, it's definitely kind of seemed it was more of a popularity contest, and
Yeah.
unless there was an obvious runaway winner that kind of tip that the scales that way. And last year was really no different with the Stallions. Like anytime that the Stallions player was a nominee, like they were just gunning for it again, unless it was just something like, oh no, this hands down the best performance. This guy's the winner from some other team that wasn't Birmingham. The Stallion tended to be right up there, if not, clearly leading. So, hey, I'm not
Yeah.
complaining, especially because I do honestly think that our guys have deserved it too. So I don't feel so guilty.
Yeah, but I think it's like undeniable though that like in a um in a system where it's a fan vote, like it doesn't surprise me to hear that, oh yeah, no, the Panthers are running away with engagement. Okay, that makes sense. We seem to win Player of the Week every single week. Even if like we're barely squeaking by.
Yeah, absolutely. Panthers still have the biggest Twitter following, so not not at all shocking. What
Yeah.
was shocking though was seeing that tweet. I don't really have any other word else to throw this little nugget, but it was something that just kind of made me vomit a little bit. Seeing it this week was that Muller's tweet of Ishmael Hyman and their practice catching a ball, and it's just like, nope, dislike. I don't like this. I don't like this. I'm still going to be salty about that roster move for a while. Conspicuously, the Twitter account for the Panthers did not tweet the him being released. So I was a little curious. I wonder if they knew that it
Neither.
was not going to be a positive, a very welcomed move.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't even think they've said anything about Barriere leaving either. So like, yeah, like
Maybe
the
not.
Panthers Twitter on some of these roster moves has been suspiciously quiet. Um, on like these more fan favorite players. Meanwhile, last year they were like, tweet that we cut Shea, tweet that we cut, Chase Demore, get rid of them all.
I mean, they even tweeted obviously the final roster cut down when we cut Kamdichi. So, like, it just seems to be a little funny. The last two guys that we released, some of the ones that are, a little more questionable, certainly ones that fans weren't going to enjoy, were ones that they kind of were silent on. Don't know if that was intentional. Don't know if it was maybe a shift actually in, social media principle, like from leadership. But either way, didn't go unnoticed that those two guys were not tweeted about.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I'm like I said, I'm gonna be sore about this one. The one about
yeah,
Barriere too, which obviously I have many, many, many more thoughts on. when we get to that point. But let's go to a little bit of a happy place. Let's talk last
Yeah.
week's game.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was a game that I definitely wasn't expecting to be happy going in. I think I even tweeted out something like a joke along the lines of, a month ago I would have been happy for this game, but now I'm like just reluctantly flipping through my channels to make sure I get on time for the kickoff.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a game that I had quite a bit of mixed feelings for. Like I said, there was definitely that thought that, hey, maybe we are just an away team, but granted, it was just a 2-game win streak at the beginning of the year, so I wasn't, super convinced on that idea. But now after Sunday's game, I don't know. I'm starting to buy into that. Maybe we're just a, away team. And I even tweeted that, that I'm going to be creating a petition who's willing to sign that we play, 10 home games next year. Got quite a bit of
whoa, whoa,
engagement,
whoa,
so
whoa! No.
clearly I'm not.
We're not playing 10 home games next year. Oh
No,
God,
no,
no.
10 away games. Sorry. And I got quite a bit of engagement on that. So I don't believe I'm the only one to have the feeling that maybe we shouldn't just play any home games. As much as I like to
Yeah,
actually get to go to the games, I like us winning a little bit more. So I'm willing to make
yeah.
that sacrifice.
Either that or we exclusively wear the white uniform. Which I'm not gonna lie, over time, the white uniforms have grown on me more than the red uniforms.
I don't know. I think for me, our away uniforms kind of remind me of the Atlanta Legends iced out uniforms. Obviously with
Yeah,
the royal plum instead of the purple, but yeah, no, I loved those ones from the AAF, so I'm right there with you. I actually really low key love our away jerseys, so I'd be okay with us rocking that. Though I do still love our royal plum color, so I'm
yeah,
not gonna
yeah.
hate, maybe. But if that is the secret sauce, then, hey, go for it. I will make that sacrifice.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe my liking of the road uniforms comes down to like bias because every time I see them, it's when good things happen, and whenever I see us in the Royal Plum, it's like the Showboats game.
Yeah, I'm trying to forget that game.
Mm, aren't we all? Well, hey, at least it's not a disrespectful loss anymore.
No, no. Now with their resurgence and them looking to be one of the top teams, which everybody seems to be riding their jock a little harder than I think they should be. Not that I don't think the Showboats lack uh, credit for what they've been able to do the last few games, but seriously, I don't think that they are. I don't think they're the best squad. I still think that's, Stallions. I still think even the Gamblers, even though they just lost to them, still have a little bit more momentum than what the Showboats do. But hey, that's just me. All right, so yeah, obviously, as everybody should know that's listening, we finally got our win after 4 straight losses, broke that streak, beat New Jersey by a score of 25-22. Kind of came down to the wire, not super surprising, but hey, it was actually the first 1-score game of 2023 for the Panthers. Like how last year, 6 of the games were all decided by 1 score. Panthers came out on the losing end on all 6 of those, rewriting the script a little bit and actually getting the win on the single score game this year. So I will take it. I was fearing that we were never going to see a win in a single score game, but hey, miracles do happen.
Yeah,
And it happened in
yeah, and
Ohio,
it
no
was.
less.
Oh yeah. And it was a nail biter too, because we almost kind of choked it to an extent. Because the defense just was going a little bit too loose. But once we got that second 3-point defense, from there it was pretty much locked in. And especially once we stopped that 4th and 12. Like once Loletta overthrew his man, it was done.
Yeah, bad throw, good defense. Loved seeing that outcome on that 4th and 12. So I kind of had confidence when it came down to that. definitely, held my breath for a moment, but when I look the same. But we've been playing pretty solid defense. They weren't taking the top off, obviously, so I wasn't super concerned about it. But obviously, I like the fact that we did end up just taking care of it right there. And then, of course, Corbin salted the game away at the end, running hard like he has been all season.
Yeah.
Got the W. So much needed. Obviously, like I said, it bumps us to second in the North. So. Happy to do that. Happy to finally get a win over the Generals. I think that was our first win over the Generals ever, or at least
It
in
was
the new
the first in the
USFL.
modern era.
Okay,
Yeah, first in the modern era.
1-3 in the modern era over the last 2 years. So good to finally get that monkey off the back.
Yeah, first win in the Northern Duel, if anybody remembers that.
Oh, I'm so glad they were not trying to reforce those made-up rivalries this year. Obviously, I think weren't really going to be able to do that so much with the way that the hubs were set up, but still, glad to see those gone.
Yeah.
So, not mind-blowing stats from Love this week, but enough to win him Offensive Player of the Week awards. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, deserving so. Like, as you mentioned, kind of probably more or less a popularity contest, but still, he did his job. He's delivered, the ball when he needed to, stood in the pocket for some hard hits, and delivered some strikes, got 3 touchdowns. So, for almost 250, 300 yards. So not a bad stat sheet. The 16 of 19 is kind of iffy, but, after starting 1 of 5, I'm going to say that's probably a decent turnaround.
Yeah. And also, shout out to Joe Walker, which I'm going to be real here. I think he probably deserved the nomination from this game more than Josh Love did.
Agreed.
Because
I was a little surprised.
Because again, Josh Love did great. I'm not gonna dog his performance, but Joe Walker, through just 5 receptions, got over 120 yards and a touchdown, and that touchdown was insane.
He ran
just
hard.
went over the middle, laid out a guy, and just kept going. It was one of the best touchdowns of the year so far. Yeah, I was honestly shocked that he wasn't even nominated.
Somehow only the number 2 play of the week, according to the league, which they're wrong about. That definitely should have been number 1. But yeah, I agree with you. I was a little surprised that Walker was not the nominee for the offensive player for that game. I really would have thought that it would have been him instead of Love. Not to take away from Josh. Glad to see that he, got his second, award of the year. But yeah, Walker just as deserving, if not more so. So love to see that he, has kept up his performance. Obviously, after week 2, there was some concerns, and he never fully let us get over those concerns a couple times during the 4-week stretch, especially when he fumbled the ball, very costly against the Maulers. So but hey,
and he still showed his problems this week.
Yeah. But I mean, still number 5 or number 3 in receiving yards on the year. So and still only number 6th in receptions. So pretty decent. He's definitely averaging pretty good amount of yards per catch. So he's definitely one of our opens. Which, not that I really have anything. Well, I do have something to say. Quinn is definitely becoming a very big asset. He finally cracked the top 5 of Panthers players rated on the year by PFF. So he's definitely been coming on, and I think he's really showing what kind of some of the promise that we were thinking that when he got signed of what we'd be able to see from him. Obviously, there's a little bit of learning curve coming in, so not having much time with the team. So he's definitely a weapon. I think that at this pace, he's probably one of those to definitely get signed back to the NFL after the season. If he sticks or not, we'll see. But I definitely think that he gets at least another camp shot.
Yeah.
And then special teams. So Kramer is still doing his thing. He had 5 punts. I think he averaged 40 some yards per punt, longest of 59 this week. Solid numbers, still very consistent. Nothing surprising there from him. Cole, him and his PATs, I'm not quite sure what the deal is this year. He's just over 70% on PATs on the year, but made both of his field goals, including a 50-yarder to end the half. So, I mean, he's pretty locked down on his field goals this year. 9 of 11. The last miss was that one against the Stallions a couple weeks back. So, not perfect from field goal, but still pretty damn good.
Yeah, he's doing what he needs to do.
82%, which granted is not the best in the league right now, but the league has been killing it with kickers this year. There's multiple with 100% on field goals and not just like 1 or 2 field goals. And then we have, several 90+%, which is just insane to me. So glad to see that that's a stark contrast from what we saw from the league last year, but still respectable.
Yeah.
Glad to see Murphy still kicking those field goals. I think that's probably more important anyway. Get those 3 points than the ones, but still, with a short distance, really want to see him get those PATs. He was perfect on the year last year, so.
Yeah, it might honestly just be a thing where just the overall kicking game is getting better. Because last year again, as we stated, the kicking was horrible. But that mostly came down to the fact that most of the coaches didn't pass basic kinesiology, so they didn't know that punting and kicking are very different. But this year, yeah, like everyone is doing pretty well for kicking. Even again to the point where Murphy's now looking like more middle of the pack, which he's not bad by any means, but he's he's just looking a little bit below what we thought he would be because last year he was the GOAT compared to a bunch of converted kicker punters.
Right. I mean, but even middle of the pack this year is still fantastic as compared to
Oh yeah,
how they're actually kicking. So I still take him pretty much over anybody else in the league. That's probably just some bias there, but dude, I said he's 9 of 11 from field goals. I'm not too worried there. What I am a little worried about though is defense. No turnovers this week.
Yeah, well, yeah. The only one that even we kind of got was a Frank Ginda interception on a 3-point conversion, but that got called back. Yeah, which okay, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, right? On the one hand, yeah, it's not very good that we aren't getting any turnovers, but on the other hand, the defense did enough, But yeah, in a Mike Nolan defense where he clearly prides himself off getting takeaways, that's not a good sign to not get any takeaways.
No,
Now,
only the second game.
Now, plus side, we didn't give the ball up. We almost did twice, but we didn't do it.
Yeah, that was surprising. I saw those fumbles. Not not a deal, but we recovered them. So no real harm done. Second straight game though of no giveaways. We have been keeping hold of the ball, which has been great. Last week we obviously didn't, or against week 6 we didn't come out on top on that, but still there was at least some promise that we held onto the ball and weren't just giving away like we have during the rest of the year. But then
Mm-hmm.
but then we also those no but the no takeaways though. That's the thing that kind of makes me lower. But hey, still got some sacks, or a sack and 3 tackles for loss. Rookie Levi Bell, dude, is really coming on. He's really getting some pressure. I guess I'm okay with that if he's going to be the one, or well, if our defense is going to get stats elsewhere.
Yeah.
No, it. I'm not too worried, though. I do kind of feel like we need to turn that around this week, though. This upcoming matchup is going to be a little more important to at least get some turnovers with New
Oh yeah.
Orleans' offense. But I mean, this is only the second game without a turnover. I'm not going to get too worried about it. The only other game was against Memphis, and that was just kind of a disaster all
That was a
around. So
disaster.
yeah, so I'm not going
Yeah.
to hold that. But last week against the Stallions, or week 6 against the Stallions, they only got one turnover. So turnover machine, takeaways have kind of slowed down a little bit. Would like to see that pick back up, but like you said, defense did enough. We owned the time of possession. We about 32 minutes, but not clear cut own, not clearly dominating,
Yeah.
but still, I mean, we got the job done. I'm trying to find
We
stuff
did
to
what we
complain
need to
about
do.
still, but no, I think we're good.
Yeah.
I think this is going to actually give us a little bit more confidence going in. Again, we have another away game, so hopefully we continue that road magic.
Yeah. Meanwhile, looking ahead now, I guess. Well, before that, we got to get to our power rankings, don't we? We got to rank these teams, as impossible of a task as that is turning out to be over this year.
Well, you got any other thoughts to talk about the game, though? I know we kind of throw in some of our
Yeah.
thoughts in with the stats, but
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. The main problem that I noticed was just that Love, while he did well, he still ran into a lot of his issues that he likes to, which is he apparently can't throw the ball up. And then when he tries to throw the ball up, he just misses everybody. Like he still hasn't figured out how to aim a football, it seems. At least not in like these leagues.
well, unless he
You
stands in
know,
the pocket and is ready to absorb a hit, then he can just put it right on the guy.
yeah, nah. Maybe that's what Josh Love needs to do. Just every play, like
Just
tell
let a
one
free
of his
rusher,
offensive linemen. Yeah, like
free rusher.
lean into like the right tackle's ear and be like, "Look, don't even try blocking your guy. I got this."
Give me a free rusher, stand in the pocket. I'll take the hit and I'll deliver a strike. Because yeah, he's been doing that all year from week 1 to week 7. If he's standing in the pocket, ready to absorb the hit, for whatever reason, he can deliver that ball. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know quite what the issue is. Obviously, getting those balls batted at the line is a huge issue. Has been an issue, and I'm not sure if that's a line problem where we're just letting the defenders get their hands up when and we're not engaging with them enough, or what have you. But that's definitely a problem that still I'd like to see resolved, which is kind of why I want to see, a more mobile quarterback in certain times, in certain packages. But obviously, we kind of squandered that with the roster move that we made that we've already talked about. So, yeah, I'm not sure what we do to change that. But I mean, he's been improving the second half, though. So I guess we're gonna be a second half team. And if that's the case,
Yeah,
whatever. As long as we come out, if we keep it close in the first half, then I think that's ultimately going to be the key.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't really think I have anything else to add, but I did want to kind of throw those couple observations in. So yeah, I guess power rankings. What are we looking
right.
like?
Well, I think you and I agree on the bottom three. It's just I tried to parse out the bottom three, and you just gave up.
Yeah,
Uh,
it looks a little different. My power rankings look a little different than what I gave for the community vote, but well, at least the bottom three. I actually had an order for the bottom three, but I mean, no. For the more I think of it, I don't have a good place for any of them. Like, I can't in good
Right.
conscience, in my opinion, put us above the Generals or the Maulers. Yeah, we just beat the Generals, but we also got dealt a pretty heavy blow in our first home game. Maulers beat us. Generals beat Maulers. It's in none of the three teams have been playing the best ball, uh, other than this past week. Over the last 3 weeks, or the previous 3 weeks, I think there was only 3 wins between the three teams, and that was the one Generals game
Yeah.
over us, and then the two Maulers games. Two Maulers wins,
Yeah.
their stars, and then beating us. So not the most impressive play by the three of us. So yeah, I just threw all of them at tied for sixth, and I just said I'm done with it. I am not going to the trouble of
Yeah.
organizing these guys, of listing these guys out and give them any position, because to me, just pick a name and throw it out. Yeah, I don't have a
Yeah.
place for them.
Yeah. Here's how I put it. Here's how I try to parse the bottom three. The worst team in the league for me right now is the Generals. They've just looked flat, especially these past 3 weeks. And now that they lost DJ and they're gonna run out with a duo of Kyle Lauletta and Eric Barriere. I love Barriere, but he has not had any playing time this year. Um, so
And no
he's
time
so
in
he's
their
gonna be
system.
pretty. Yeah, so he's gonna be extremely raw. And Lauletta has just always been subpar in the USFL. Like he's never really had any like flash points as a quarterback. It seems. Um, so there's kind of that issue. Maulers for me are seventh. I mean, they're just kind of a slightly better Generals in every way, and they're able to hold on with pretty much anyone in the league nowadays. Like the Maulers are 2-5, but I still give them credit where credit's due. I think on a good day, they can beat pretty much anyone in the league. However, they keep getting in their own way as a team. I want to see them win, to an extent, not against us, but they can win the other two of the three. I don't care. Um, and 4-6. That's all I ask.
Right. Hey, which is why I couldn't, in good conscience, put the Panthers above them. But they're not playing the best ball. They've lost the last couple.
Yeah.
So to me, I gotta have them. If I'm not gonna have them
Meanwhile, the
above
Panthers.
us, and I'm not gonna have them below us, I'm just gonna toss them together.
Yeah, and then the Panthers. Panthers, I'm only putting up there really for recency bias because they beat a team of that pile recently.
Fair.
Um, again, it's hard to parse out between the three, and I think after next week we'll have a much clearer answer of those bottom three. But yeah, our
Yeah,
next two also are the same teams, but we flipped
oh, I was just gonna say
them.
that the three of us, we are playing South teams this week, so we'll get to see if how we do against what unfortunately looks to be the better division in the league still this year. So yeah, we'll definitely get a better idea. It might
Yeah,
not shake up anything as far as North standing is concerned, unless both the Generals and Mullers lose, and then the Stars get to clinch at least a playoff spot. But yeah, we'll see how this weekend
yeah.
goes.
Next up, is the mid pack, which for us is Stars and Breakers. We put them in slightly different orders. I can explain, at least for me, I put the Stars with the Breakers. It just comes down to form, really. Stars are on a better run right now. The Breakers, after starting out 4-0, have hit the skids really bad. They've been playing harder opponents than the Stars have. I'll give them that. But you know,
And
if I
to
were to,
your credit, the Stars did beat the Breakers, so I guess there's something to be said there.
yeah, yeah, like Breakers, they aren't a bad team, but I definitely think they've kind of been. I guess the word is it kind of been figured out almost. Like, I don't know. I don't think they're bad by any stretch of the imagination. I think that they are still that those two, as of right now, are still a cut above those bottom three. But yeah,
I mean, the Breakers are still their defense is still top 3 in scoring defense even over their 3-game skid, and their offense still on the year is, best in passing yards, best in total yards, and still top 3 in total points, third behind the Stallions and Gamblers. So I'm not. I feel like I don't know. I don't trust that Flip is going to be able to get them turned around, but at the same time, I don't know. And as well as awful as the Stars have looked earlier in the season, a couple close wins or 3 close wins doesn't make me the most confident, but they did beat the Breakers, so I guess to your point, maybe I
Yeah,
should have them at 4, or over the Star or over the Breakers at 5, but I'm not convinced quite yet.
yeah. It's yeah. You're kind of just You're splitting hairs pretty much at that point.
Basically, yeah,
Um,
they're interchangeable.
and then of course our top three we agreed on: 3 South teams, Showboats 3, Gamblers 2, Stallions 1. Now you may be asking, why the hell are the Gamblers ahead of the Showboats when the Showboats just beat the Gambler? Well, it's time to explain that.
Power rankings and things happen. Like
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it's just like 2 years ago when Sparty beat Michigan. It's not like Sparty was the better team. They end up making fewer mistakes and they played better. But at the end of the year, I mean, it was clear as day, and pissed off a lot of Sparties with the polls. But Michigan stayed ahead of Sparty, and it's just because they're still the better team, and that's kind of the philosophy I'm taking with this. Is last week if we just wiped the slate clean and did a brand new power ranking, sure, Showboats would be ahead of the Gamblers, but nah, as the season as a whole, I have a little more faith in the Gamblers. At least that's my perspective. That's what my
Yeah,
ranking.
the Gamblers outside of that loss, ever since, they dropped to I think it was 0-2 to start the year, they've been
0-3.
a
Or yeah, 0-2. Sorry.
yeah, yeah, 0-2. They have been a functionally they've been playing perfect football throughout the last few weeks. Um Again, you lose the Showboats, gonna be kind of debilitating for the playoff push. But I still think the Gamblers are the better team on the whole, and that they're probably going to end up better overall at the end once all is said and done. And also, they just showed out better against like those bigger teams than Memphis has. It's not to say that Memphis has been like bad. They obviously beat the Breakers, but you know, I just have more faith in the Gamblers right now than I do the Showboats.
I mean, considering their 0-4 start on the year, their little 3-game run, which has been impressive, it's not enough to me to put them, you know, any higher than number 3. Like, yeah, they beat the Stallions. They beat what they are. No, sorry, 4-3. So they have a 4-game win
Yeah,
streak. So even better. Yeah.
yeah.
Over the Stallions,
They
over
beat
the
the
Breakers,
Breakers.
Gamblers. Yeah. And then of course the
And
Panthers.
then
So
they beat the home Panthers. So does that really count?
no. No, it doesn't count. But
No.
I'm right there with you. The Gamblers, they get the edge. I mean, Mark Thompson is playing super well. Kenji is actually top 3, I think, in pass yards. So
Yeah,
they're scoring. They're
Kenji.
number 2 in scoring offense.
Yeah, yeah.
There's I mean, I still am not a fan of the Gamblers, but then again, this year they've actually been kind of making more of a fan out of me, which I feel dirty about. But
Look, look. You just need to be hypnotized by the black uniform. All right, they look good. You can admit it.
well, I'm still not a fan of the uniforms. But here's the problem with rooting for the Gamblers. They are the inverse Panthers. Plain and simple. We beat them week 1. Obviously, they lost. We won. We won week 2. They lost week 2. We won a 4-game skid. They won a 4-game win streak. We got our win. They took an L. They are the inverse of us. I cannot root for them. In good conscience, I cannot root for them because we are doing the opposite of what they are. So
clearly we need. So this is like the ultimate form of the ref's curse, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's exactly where he got it. He saw that we're skidding and then they're ascending. So now something's got to break. So I gotta
flip it.
I hope that the Gamblers shoot back down to the bottom so that we can do what we need. Now, if the Gamblers miss the playoffs, I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. But
but
that means
we win the championship.
We'll figure it out from there. Right? Yeah, exactly. There we go. I'm good with that if that's how it works. But yeah, so in good conscience, I can't root for them. But despite the slip up last week, I still have them edging the boats. I'm just still not a Haley fan.
Yeah. Meanwhile, number 1, I mean, it's the Stallions. I think that's about all we need to say, really.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Earth orbits around the sun. All that is coming to being will eventually once not be in being. And the Birmingham Stallions are probably the best team in the USFL. These are constants. I don't see any of these 3 changing anytime soon.
Yeah, they figured it out. Best record in the league. So back on a 2-game win streak, scoring the most in the league. As much as I really hated the fact that that's what's going on, they figured it out after they did a little skid, and now they're the team to beat, and I'm not thrilled of it. I don't like it, but hey, until someone else knocks them off again, maybe this week we'll see. But I don't know that the Stars are going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then that actually leaves us the ability to, I think, maybe even take the North back as the number 1 seed, because we'll have that tiebreaker over them, even being the same being the same record. So that to me isn't terribly important at this point because I just want to get to the playoffs. Hell, if we have to be the away team in the North playoff game, I'd rather be the number 2 seed so we can be the away team so we can have that, road warrior mindset.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going for. Okay, so don't have a whole lot more to say there. The one part that I'm kind of dreading to talk about, because I know that I'm gonna have to vent a little bit. Roster moves. After last week's mind-boggling decision to release Ishmael Hyman, we follow up this week with yet another move that has me really wondering what the hell we're doing with our personnel decisions. Of course, the guy that I've been calling for to see some playing time for the last few weeks while we were during our skid because he would give us something different. The coaching staff decided to take a completely different direction and said, no, fuck you. We're not doing that. In fact, we're cutting.
We're going to double down on it.
So, of course, we, as you mentioned earlier, as we talked a little bit earlier, released QB Eric Barriere, the 2021 Walter Payton Award-winning quarterback in the D2. Yeah, we decided that no, we don't want this dual threat playmaker anymore. we are going to go in a different direction. When that news came out, when I noticed that he was missing from the roster, I was like, no, we did not do that. No, there's no way this. I was hoping that it was just a Fox, USFL
Yeah.
mishap with the roster. It was not. James Larson did manage to confirm before anybody else did confirm it that Barriere was, of course, actually gone. So many emotions running through me seeing that happen. Still don't quite get it. He's not happy about the decision. I'm not happy about the decision, but
No.
he found a home with the Generals, so good for him. I certainly hope that he does well. Glad that we are done with facing the Generals this year. Not that there's a whole lot much time left in the season for him to really get much into their offense and be ready, but still, if the Generals are the other team that make it into the playoffs and we make it into the playoffs, really hoping that we don't have to face him, because I have a feeling that he would certainly make us pay, kind of like last year, how after we cut Patterson and, he helps the, Breakers beat us after they pick him up. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully, that doesn't come to pass, but I mean, I am still just confused about it. Like, I get that we ended up signing another quarterback in EJ Perry, which we can get to in a minute, but my confusion is, my issue here is where my rant's really coming in is, even if Barriere isn't the quarterback that you want to really go with, fine. I still disagree, but if it was earlier in the season, it'd make a little more sense. But we're going into week 8. We are very much in the playoff hunt. Again, like I just mentioned, if we win and the Stars lose this weekend, we're now the number 1 seed in the North. So we are very much in the playoff hunt. The playoffs are very much within sight. So what are we doing? Cutting our quarterback, another quarterback, the only other quarterback other than a starter that has any knowledge of the offense. So right now, this weekend, we are running with a guy that has spent 2 weeks with the team. Unless Lewerke is just really magically absorbed the offense and is running it so well that the staff is confident in him over what Barriere would be able to do. I find that hard to believe, because this still should be a pro offense. This should be a little bit more difficult to pick up than just something you do in a couple weeks, especially to beat out someone who has been in the system for the last, 12 months, 13 months?
Yeah.
So it just boggles my mind doing that, and maybe that means Strong is coming back off of IR. We haven't gotten those roster moves yet to show that he's back, and I'm not sure that we can or are going to carry 4 quarterbacks on the roster, so I'm really not sure about this. To me, it just seems short-sighted. They're the coaching staff. They know more than me, but until I get more information, I'm still going to be very against this move, if not for the fact that I like Barriere, wanted to see him, really had high hope for him being able to contribute this year. Obviously, that didn't happen, but I had high hopes, so I'm sore. I'm annoyed and frustrated in that regard, but even more so, just the fact that it makes no sense to be running with the backup that's been with the team for 2 weeks when we could be running with a quarterback, or having our backup being someone who's also been with the team for over a year. But hey, I'm just an idiot yelling into a microphone right now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, dropping Barriere is definitely probably the more questionable decision out of any that we made so far this year. Because even with Ish Hyman, from what we know, there was at least like a cause and effect there. With Barriere, it just kind of seems like, we're not using you anyways. Get the hell out. We got the Michigan State guy here now. But yeah, everyone down the line is just gonna be it's confusing.
Like I said, I'm holding out hope that maybe a little work he did has just picked up that quickly, and that he's just going to be a better fit with the offense that Nolan and Marty want to run. Still find that hard to believe, but I
Yeah,
guess for me to be able to sleep at night, maybe that's what I'm just gonna have to force myself to
except
believe. Yes. And then a guy that unfortunately has not been able to stay healthy this year, in cornerback Keontae Harden is placed on IR. So we did have a couple open roster spots with those moves there. So we did pick up another guy. We didn't pick up another defensive back this time. We end up going, obviously, in addition to EJ Perry at the quarterback position, we end up getting offensive tackle Eric Barriere out of Wyoming,
mhm,
who was actually another true rookie. So this is another rookie free agent signing that we made this year. He has spent a few years, played a few years. I think his career even started with Josh Allen still being at Wyoming, so he knows some good QB play and how to protect it. He
right.
last year he played all 12 games, started all 12 games at left tackle, so adding some good depth on that very important position would be nice. Williams has been doing a good job, but not going to complain about adding a little bit of depth there. Of course, not that we're going to see him probably not even at all this year with it being so late, but considering
Yeah,
how well that Williams has been playing, if he does get, a shot in the NFL, then at least we have some depth and some youth going into next season. And then, of course, the big splash, the thing that kind of makes sense with the Barriere move is, again, quarterback EJ Perry out of Brown. He went undrafted last year in 2020, spent some time with the Jaguars. Obviously, has some talent there, made it to camp. Ended up being the 2021 East West Shrine Bowl MVP. So, obviously has the potential of playing well and playing well with not just with Ivy League, teams as competition, actually some decent, some decent competition in some other seniors from other big programs. So he can play.
yeah.
I'll give him that. Dual threat, not the fast of quarterbacks, but 4.65 40. So not terribly bad. But
He
knows how
can
to,
move it if need be.
but he knows how to use his feet, and I think that still kind of also again confuses me a little bit with the Barry move. Is like if you're gonna go with the dual threat quarterback, maybe do a Walter Payton Award winning quarterback that knows your offense, but I digress yet again. So like everybody seems to be happy with the move. I still haven't looked too terribly into him. I've been, off of my own little world for the better part of the last couple weeks, so I haven't looked into him too much. But I've seen enough hype. I've seen a few good plays from what highlights I have watched, so I'm excited for that. I think again this probably sets us up for the future. But if Strong's coming back, kind of makes me wonder: would we stick with him? Would we roster 4 quarterbacks, or would we cut Perry? I don't know. That's I guess for the coaching staff to decide though.
Figure out. Yeah.
And I guess the only other curious thing that I have as far as the roster is concerned is, as far as I'm aware, as far as what I can tell and been able to look at, is that we still have an open roster spot. I don't know. Does that mean that we're moving someone off of IR? Because obviously, we pull someone off of IR, they're going to be, on the active roster, and that would fill our 50th spot. But as we stand, we're currently at 49. From what I know, as far as the IR is concerned, it's a 5-week injury reserve. that was negotiated for the CBA this past offseason, as far as I could tell from the United Steelworkers website about the whole CBA deal going through. So maybe that's going to be Corey Rahman coming off of the IR, because he was placed on IR after week 1. So as far as I can tell, he's still on it. He's still on the roster. So maybe he's expected back, and that's why we haven't filled that last spot. But who knows? But until we know that, until someone is back on the roster, we might have a open roster spot. So I have been trying to watch and see if we have anybody new listed on the roster. And of course, just as I say that, I refresh the roster, and breaking news: we signed another wide receiver.
And who could it be?
DJ Montgomery out of Austin P.
Huh. I've actually heard that name before. Well, good for him.
So I'm going to have to do a little graphic and post it again. So that's interesting. Looks like he had spent some time with the Jets and the Browns, so he has some NFL experience. Ooh, looks like he might have even in the Texans. So he's been around for a minute. There's even a wiki page about him, I think. So that means he's gotten something. Yeah. He signed with the Browns. Looks like he was undrafted in 2019. Signed with the Browns, was on their active roster, spent time on the active roster with the Jets, and then practice squad with the Colts and Texans last year. So, dude with some NFL experience, 3 receptions, 36 receiving yards. Obviously not world, head turning, eye popping stats, but still a dude with NFL experience. So that'll be interesting. I'm assuming he's going to be on the inactive roster to start, so we won't see him this week. But and who knows if we even see him this year? Maybe next week. But yeah. So there's the additional third signing this week. So no, I guess nobody is coming off of IR. There you have it. That answers that question.
I mean, hey, even if we want to strong off the roster, back off IR, we already have a fourth quarterback. His name's Trey Quinn.
Right, 1 of 100% though. Look at those stats.
Yeah.
All right. So this week, not make or break, but would help keep us in playoff contention and in our own, in our own hands. We control our own fate with the matchup here against the Breakers on Sunday at 4 on Fox. So we're finally over. I believe we are finally done with our non-OTA games. The last 3 will be on. I think all last 3 games are going to actually be on Fox. So
yeah,
on over the air. So we'll get to actually have hopefully pushing near 1 million views, average views for that game. But Breakers are on a 3-game losing streak. They obviously are going to be looking to end that skid. I'm hoping that we are not starting a new skid of our own, so we need to continue our road warrior mentality and hopefully get us back to 500, because we can get back to 4-4 through 8 weeks and control our own destiny to get into the playoffs. I said I think even 5-5 will be sufficient, but first step to get to 5 wins is to get to 4. So
and definitely I think this game of the 3 remaining is going to be the most beneficial to our playoff push here, because after this, we also got to pay attention to that Generals Maulers game. The Generals and the Maulers, they play separately. Maulers play the Gamblers on Saturday at high noon. Meanwhile, the Generals play the Showboats at 1:00 right before our game. Now, granted, obviously we've already known that whenever the Gamblers win, we lose. So I guess go Maulers or something. But if we can get some good breaks, we can get some lucky breaks during those two matchups, we could set up pretty much a win and in scenario against the Maulers next week.
I mean, if we just win all 3 games, period, we're in. But yeah, the easiest path would be that. Well, but that's the conundrum, though, isn't it? If the Maulers win this weekend, would it still be able to be a win and in? I haven't crunched that. I
I
haven't looked at
think
that.
so.
Well, then I'm
'Cause
good
let's
with rooting
see.
for the Maulers.
Yeah, because you think about it like this. The way they are right now, like, so if they lose, so they'd be, so if they win, they're 3-5, and even if we lose, right? Let's assume we lose, 3-5 for us too. We go in next week and say we beat them. Let me see. Yeah, I think we would actually. Yeah, we might actually beat them out then because we would have a better division record. Um, and that, yeah, because I think at that point all it would need to happen is just for the Generals to beat the Maulers week 10. But we're getting way too into the woods there.
Like I said,
We've
just
got more
win
important
and
things
in.
in our hands.
Right,
Yeah,
win and in.
winning in.
That's it. We control our own destiny. If it doesn't matter what happens after that, as long as if we can just win the next 3. So I'm good with that. I don't. That's all my focus is going to be on. Now, one thing, unfortunately, obviously, with this being a Sunday game and we're recording this on Thursday, we don't get our game summary or game status report or the active roster for this weekend. Though obviously, I'm assuming that Lewerke is going to be QB2. Hopefully, we are just as healthy this week as we were last week. Because I think being healthier than the Generals probably helped. Will certainly be beneficial this week to have a healthy team. Really hoping that we can get Dawkins back, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, no, Dawkins is on the active roster. Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm thinking of Ginda, or not Ginda, jeez, but Myrick. So hopefully we can get Myrick back because I know he was on the inactive roster on the practice squad last week. So hopefully we get him back. I'll really need some big linebacker play, I think, this week. Kind of have somebody to spy on and take control of Hills and MBT. So for me,
Yeah.
all right. My takeaway, my keys for this week, though, kind of is what I was discussing a little bit earlier. Is we're gonna have to create some takeaways. I think doesn't need to be 4. Apparently, we can win. Before last week, I was complaining how apparently our defense needed to create turnovers in order for us to win. They proved me wrong last week, so let's stick with that. I'm going to say something that I'm 100% sure of that our team needs to do in order to win. They're going to spite me and still win anyway.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going with. So let's create some turnovers. 1 or 2. I just want to win the turnover margin. I know it didn't matter the last couple of weeks. Still think it's kind of key. So would really like them, especially with the Breakers offense. I really want to see us getting some takeaways this week. I'm okay with giving up yards. I know the Breakers have Coughlin though, and they're get it within field goal range. He's going to nail it, but still, force them to settle for field goals. At least force him to have to make it. Hold them to 3 if you have to. Give up yards. Again, they're still the 3rd highest scoring offense, best in yards, best in passing yards. So they're gonna gash us there. It's gonna happen, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with a bend don't break. Just hold them to 3. Just don't let them in the end zone, and
Yeah.
I guess I'm fine with that. If you can get Bell and Speaks to get to MBT at all, do it. Find a way to get them. Get some pressure on him. Make some errant throws. he hasn't been playing quite to the same level that he was the first few weeks during their 4-game stretch. So maybe keep that momentum. Uh, Obviously on offense, don't turn the ball over. Don't get the ball batted at the line. Get it to your receivers.
Yeah.
Let Quinn and Walker do the thing. Give Reggie and Stevie, a little bit of space to then be able to run and do their thing. And ultimately score points. Like, that's obvious, it's football, score more points than the opposition, but I mean,
Yeah.
again, Breakers number 3 in points allowed. Like, they've in their 3-game losing stretch, they still have only allowed the third fewest points. So their defense is still not lights out, but still playing better than average, better than most teams as far as points are concerned. So we need to make sure we do that. We got to capitalize on every opportunity that we have. And I guess maybe this is one of those games where I hate settling for field goals. If it means points, then you know what? Let Murphy and Coughlin go, toe to toe. Let them go back and forth. It is what it is. Go
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. I think definitely the two main things here can be to slow them down and make them uncomfortable. Because it's been shown throughout the year that New Orleans is not comfortable if you slow them down too much. They kind of don't seem to know what to do. But then also, take the opportunities, take the points that are given to you. Try to score essentially every drive if you can. That's pretty much how you beat this Breakers team.
Yep. I can, and that's one thing they haven't been able to do. I mean, they've had a couple games where Coughlin's had to go off. So if you can get a couple touchdowns in there when they're getting field goals, then I think that's going to be key.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for the most part, we pretty much agree with the keys on this. Not that we ever have too many opposing views, but we're pretty we're pretty identical on this one. I don't think it's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not rocket science at this point. We know what we've seen from the teams, both of them. Yeah, I want to see some offensive output. We're going to need to do that against this Breakers team, which again, I still have them as in the top, in the top half of the league for me. So like,
Right.
I'm not. It's not going to be easy, and I think you and I both agree with that conclusion because both of our predictions tend to or aren't favoring the Panthers. For me, second straight week,
No.
I don't favor the Panthers. Actually, if we were recorded 3 weeks ago, wouldn't have favored the Panthers that week either. But I'm obviously taking the Breakers. I still think it will be a one-score game, but I'm going to the tune of 24-20.
Yeah, I'm taking the Breakers too. I have a feeling that it might be a regression to the mean for the Panthers, where it's just the one touchdown and then just a couple field goals will be the remainder of our scoring output. I'm putting it at 27-16. I don't want to be right, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's a risk where it's going to have to be kind of a little bit of a battle between Coughlin and Murphy. And if we go on the year as a whole, Coughlin's got the edge, but again, Murphy's super solid at 9 of 11. Coughlin is not 100% on the year. He's been kicking a lot, so he's due for a bad game, I think. And, you know, uh, if we have to do it that way, I'm confident that we can stick with them. But yeah, get a couple TDs in there. Find a way to stop them from breaking open. We do need to make sure that our run defense is solid. But unfortunately, I don't think we are the road warriors that we have been. But I'm willing to be proven wrong. I will happily be proven wrong.
Yeah.
I want my team to prove me wrong. I just don't know that we do it this week. They're going to
Yeah.
bounce back, but maybe not. Maybe the Breakers are another team with a 4-game skid. It was
One can only
us,
hope.
then we gave it to the Generals, and now maybe we can give it to the Breakers. I'll take that. Either way, I'm watching. I'm rooting the hell out of my team. I know last week I was definitely a lot more pessimistic. I'm still not super enthusiastic about my team right now. But I mean, they're there. They have the potential, and feeling better than I did last week. We'll see though. But with that, I'm gonna try to leave this on a high note. Again, got momentum, rebounding from last week. Jack is having problems with a noisy dog in the background, so I will just go ahead and conclude us
Always
here.
happens.
Of course, always. I'll cut out the dog noise, the few barks, so people will have no idea what I'm talking about right now. And yeah, keep an eye on the giveaway for week 10. I still need to get that posted, but that's coming. I haven't been able to give away the tickets for the last few games. Again, not entirely sure what the hell's going on, if Twitter and Instagram are like suppressing giveaways because there are so many scams, especially crypto scams and all that BS. So I'll still do that. So if you're listening, keep an eye out that it will be on both Instagram and Twitter as they have been. Hopefully get those out in the next few days. Other than that, obviously then make sure you are clicking like and following us on Twitter and Instagram at USFL Shadow, YouTube as well. And then follow me, my personal Twitter at Cheese Soda, and Jack is going to be at Panthers Claw MI. And we'll see you next week.